Dan, welcome to the Leanpub launch video for Corporate Sabotage Field Guide, Management Level Techniques for Systemic Disruption and Psychological Erosion. I was wondering if you could take a moment today to talk to us a little bit about yourself, about who you are and what you do and what your book is about and who it's for.
Of course. So my name is Stijn. I've been working in corporate environments for over a decade now. And my job is, I started as a software consultant, and gradually, as I gained experience, got into more and more of the architecture side of things, dealing with management, dealing with customers, dealing with teams interacting and trying to coordinate everything. And that is actually the basis of the book. So as I move towards this corporate maze of politics and well-meaning people, I figured that, a lot of people there were sad and malcontented and trying to do the best they could, but being stopped for whatever reason. And when I was an individual contributor writing code every day, I used to regard management and architects and people with a bit of seniority, let's say, as being outright evil or old, out of touch, trying to prevent us from doing our jobs well. And I used to think, well, why do they make these decisions? Can't they see they're making everything worse? And as I don't want to say matured, but as I moved along my career and started to work more and more closely with managers, with other people in charge, I noticed they were having difficulties, but from the other side of the coin, trying to coordinate everything, trying to get people to work together, and they too trying to do the best job they can, making an environment that works for everybody. And I noticed that time and time and time again, even though there's a lot of people trying their hardest, things still go wrong. And that's why I started writing down ways that even by well-meaning people doing the best they can, just by culture or legacy reasons of governance, things that got out of whack somewhere down the line, large companies and corporates in particular tend to put a proverbial stick in their own wheels and topple themselves over a lot of the time just by pure virtue of trying to coordinate things that are difficult to coordinate. And so the book, the Sabotage Field Guide, is a collection of patterns, techniques on destroying an organization by doing corporate things, having a bunch of meetings, splitting things across 20 different teams because you think that will help somehow. And again, the point of the book is not to point fingers. The point of the book is not to say, well, management is evil, corporations are bad. This is where people go to get their minds destroyed, basically. The point is more, these are things that happen, usually without bad intentions, but once they're there, they tend to amplify each other, and it can really hurt.
Yeah, thanks very much for that great description. I mean, one thing I can tell from the way you just described it, but one thing one can tell also from reading the book is how, battle hardened it is, to employ the kind of military metaphor that the book is based on. That this is like a lot of experience that you've had, that people you've known have had, working, really trying to do your best job that you can in an organization where everybody is trying to do it, but there are these patterns of behavior and things that people have taken on. And one of the points you make is that they may not know that they're doing it, but one of your real points is you may not know, dear readers,
Exactly.
that you yourself have been doing it. And so by framing it in this kind of satirical way as a kind of sabotage manual, which is great, by the way. And like I should mention, the book is a delight to read and look at. Somehow I think you've made the best formatted Leanpub book anyone's ever made, I think. It's just very creative and clever, and you chose the right font for exactly the right genre and things like that. But um, it's about getting you to reflect on things that other people have done and things that you've done, but with a satirical lens that, like, imagine you were doing what you were doing, but you were trying to sabotage things. You'd be like, oh, right, yes, that's not good. So, and a great example, and one thing that I'm very sympathetic to is the importance that you place in your analysis of these problems on language.
Hmm.
Um, and so an example I'm looking at here right now, which is there's a section called Act Two, Language Capture, and you have these examples where you, instead of saying things like "this feature isn't ready," you say "we need to align on acceptance criteria," and instead of
Exactly.
saying "we're blocked," you say "we're waiting on strategic clarity."
Yeah.
Um, and you point out how, like, it actually is really important that the way we talk sometimes turn into a form of theater or performance or
Mhm.
things like that. And that's what happens is these patterns of behavior and enforced behavior come into effect in an organization and just in your interactions that aren't about the actual mission as it all started out to be.
No,
Um,
indeed. So
mm,
as things move into the corporate sabotage realm of living, basically, you get these sort of statements. The ones you mentioned are great, but others that come to mind are: we must ensure we adhere to the synergetic milestone road plan, blah blah blah. And nobody knows what it means, or words get dropped like KPIs, board of this and that and such. And in the end, what it boils down to is that people don't know what you're talking about anymore. They don't realize what you're doing. You're new speaking or
right.
whitewashing your language to fit into some sort of narrative
Mm-hmm.
that isn't serving anybody. So if I try my darndest to convince you that it isn't a bug, but it's a feature, because somewhere on some milestone roadmap there's a word that somewhat resembles,
Right.
just to not say we made a mistake, I'm sorry, we'll fix it. You move away from what you're actually doing and what you're trying to do so much that after a while, people just forget that the point is getting a result done. The case of Leanpub, making a platform that enables people to write stuff and get it out to people. And once you lose touch with that and you basically becoming a corporate drone that's looking at Excel sheets or ticketing systems, moving tasks from A to B, you're down a very dangerous path.
Or as you
Um,
point out, PowerPoints, which
yeah.
is not the first person to make that observation, but it's like it can't be said enough. An example that you just brought to mind from a very good explanation there, I think, was when I've one version of this that I've seen just as a kind of ordinary person watching things happen in the world is when people stop sitting in the corporate HQ or whatever, stop realizing that no, people don't want a delightful experience. They want to get on the plane.
Yeah.
Um, you know, like that's, and like, so for example, when I'm using a website, I want to hit the publish button on my book on Leanpub. I don't want a delightful experience. Like, I want to
Mhm.
know that it worked and I want it to work. And that's what I'm there for. And you can see these things happen. One thing that I think is mentioned either in the preface or I think it's in the preface, is
Mhm.
the line, "You can't see what you don't have language for," which is
Yeah.
actually a really great line. And a big part of what you're doing in the book is trying to give people, in a fun way, a kind of shared way of talking about various, problematic patterns of behavior and things like
Yeah.
that. And so, since this is a launch video, my joke is it goes against my nature to have short conversations, but that's the idea here. So just to close it off, if there was what's the biggest thing you hope, or the one thing, if people took one thing away that they learned from your book, what would you hope that they would take away?
Um, it can happen to anybody,
Mm,
and it isn't a single person's responsibility to fix it. So if you're in that situation, identify it and do your best to choose differently. But don't stress or obsess over fixing everything.
Well, I will try to take that advice to heart myself because that's one of my biggest weaknesses. Well, Stan, thank you very much for being on this Leanpub launch video. The book is Corporate Sabotage Field Guide, Management Level Techniques for Systemic Disruption and Psychological Erosion. I can't recommend it enough. Like I said, it's a great idea. It's very much of it is very gently done, but based on hard-won experience, and it's just fun to look at. So thank you very much, Stan, for taking the time to do this Leanpub launch video.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.